I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey Patriot Warrior fam, I'm Face, and these are the histories that America forgot. According to Wikipedia, quote, in early 1835, as Mexican government transitioned from a federalist model to centralism, wary colonists in Texas began forming committees of correspondence and safety. A central committee in San Felipe de Austin coordinated their activities. The Texians staged a minor revolt against customs duties in June. These Anahuac disturbances prompted Mexican President Antonio López de Santa Anna to send additional troops to Texas. In July, Colonel Nicolas Condell led 200 men to reinforce Presidio La Bahia. The following month, a contingent of soldiers arrived in Béjar with Colonel Domingo de Uartechea. Fearing that stronger measures were needed to quell the unrest, Santa Anna ordered his brother-in-law, General Martín Perfecto de Cos, to, quote, repress with strong arm all those who, forgetting their duties to the nation, which has adopted them as her children, are pushing forward with a desire to live at their own option without subjection to the laws, end quote. Cos landed at Copano Bay on September 20th with approximately 500 soldiers. Cos briefly toured the port of Copano Bay and the small garrison at nearby Refugio, and left small groups of soldiers to reinforce each of these locations. The main body of soldiers arrived in Goliad on October 2nd. Unbeknownst to Cos, as early as September 18th, several Texians, including James Fannin, Philip Dimmitt, and John Lynn, had independently begun advocating a plan to seize Cos at either Copano or Goliad. As soon as Cos's warships were spotted approaching Copano Bay, Refugio colonists sent messengers from San Felipe de Austin and Matagorda to inform the other settlements of Cos's imminent arrival. Concerned that a lack of artillery would make the Presidio at Goliad impossible to capture, the Central Committee chose not to order an assault. Although Fannin, Dimmitt, and Lynn continued to push for an attack on Goliad, Texian attention soon shifted towards Gonzales, where a small group of Texians were refusing to obey orders from Uartechea. Colonists eagerly rushed to assist, and on October 2nd, the Battle of Gonzales officially opened the Texas Revolution. After learning of the Texian victory, Cos made haste for Béjar. He left with the bulk of his soldiers on October 5th, but because he was unable to find adequate transportation, most of his supplies remained at La Bahia. On October 6, members of the Texian militia in Matagorda convened at the home of Sylvanus Hatch. As their first order of business, they elected George Collinsworth as their captain. Dr. William Carleton was then named first lieutenant, and D.C. Collinsworth became the unit's second lieutenant. After appointing their leaders, the men decided to march on La Bahia. They intended to kidnap Cos, and if possible, steal the estimated $50,000 that was rumored to accompany him. The Texians sent messengers to alert nearby settlements of their quest. By afternoon, 50 Texians were ready to march from Matagorda. During the march, for unknown reasons, the men fired Carleton and appointed James W. Moore as the new first lieutenant. The following day, the expedition stopped at Victoria, where they were soon joined by English-speaking settlers from the other settlements, and 30 Tejanos led by Plácido Benavides. Although no accurate muster rolls were kept, historian Stephen Hardin estimated that Texian ranks swelled to 125 men. 49 of them signed a, quote, compact of volunteers under Collinsworth, end quote, on October 9th. These men pledged that they were loyal to the Mexican federal government and would harm no one who remained loyal to the Federalist cause. One of the new arrivals, merchant Philip Dimmitt, received a missive from the Goliad customs agent with news that Cos and his war chest had already departed La Bahia to travel to San Antonio de Bejas. Undeterred, the group marched out on October 9th. Ira Ingram led the vanguard, which halted 1 mile outside Goliad. The events that follow are not very clear, according to the memoirs of Mexican General Vicente Filisola, who was not in Texas in 1835. The Texians plotted to draw the Presidio commander, Colonel Juan Lopez Sandoval, and his officers from the fort. The Texians allegedly planned a dance in Goliad on October 9th and invited the Mexican officers. Although Sandoval, Captain Manuel Sabriego, and Lieutenant Jesus de la Garza briefly attended the dance, they suspected mischief and returned to the fort. No Texian source mentions such a plot. Several of the Texians, including Dimmitt, did enter the town that evening to try to find guides and support for the effort. Dimmitt's efforts were successful, and several of the Tejanos who lived near Goliad joined the Texian force. They reported that Sandoval commanded only 50 men, far fewer than the number necessary to defend the entire perimeter of the fort, and provided directions to the fort. The main body of Texian soldiers under Collinsworth became disoriented in the dark and wandered from the road. They were soon tangled in a mesquite thicket. While working their way back towards the road, the Texians met Ben Millam, a Texas colonist who had recently escaped from prison in Monterrey. Millam joined the militia as a private, and the group soon rejoined the vanguard. As the combined Texian force prepared for battle, they sent a message to instruct the alcalde of the city to surrender. At 11 p.m., the alcalde responded that the town would remain neutral, neither surrendering nor fighting. Several of the locals did, however, apply axes to the Texian militia. The Texians divided themselves into 4 groups, each assigned a different approach to the Presidio. In the pre-dawn hours of October 10th, the Texians attacked. The lone sentinel managed to give the alarm but was immediately shot dead. The Texians quickly hacked through a door on the north wall of the fortress and ran to the interior courtyard. Hearing the commotion, the Mexican soldiers had lined the walls to defend the fort. The Mexican soldiers opened fire, hitting Samuel McAuliffe, Jr., a former slave whom George Collinsworth had freed, in the shoulder. Texians returned fire for approximately 30 minutes. During a pause in the fighting, a Texian spokesman yelled out that they would, quote, massacre every one of you unless you come out immediately and surrender, end quote. The Mexican garrison immediately surrendered. McAuliffe was the only Texian soldier to be wounded, and he later claimed to be, quote, the first whose blood was shed in the Texas War for Independence, end quote. This distinction earned him a permanent home. A later law prohibited any freed slave from residing in the Republic of Texas, but in 1840 the Texas legislature specifically excluded McAuliffe, his family, and his descendants from its enforcement. The exclusion was a reward for McAuliffe's service and his injury. Estimates of Mexican casualties range from 1 to 3 soldiers killed and from 3 to 7 wounded. Approximately 20 soldiers escaped. They warned the garrisons at Capano and Refugio of the advancing Texians. Those garrisons abandoned their posts and joined the soldiers at Fort Lipantitlan. Milam escorted the remaining Mexican soldiers to Gonzales, where the newly formed Texian army was located. The Texian army commander, Stephen F. Austin, later released all of the men on the condition that they leave Texas and vowed to stop fighting Texas residents. One wounded Mexican soldier was allowed to remain in Goliad, as was Captain Manuel Sabriego, who was married to a local woman. In secret, Sabriego began organizing a group of settlers in the Goliad area who sympathized with Mexico. Texian troops confiscated the provisions they found at the fort. Although they found 300 muskets, most of them were broken and unable to be repaired. Dimmitt hired 2 gunsmiths who were able to bring the remaining weapons into service. The food, clothing, blankets, and other provisions were valued at $10,000. The new quartermaster at the fort, John J. Lynn, reported that 175 barrels of flour were confiscated, along with a large supply of sugar, coffee, whiskey, and rum. For the next 3 months, the provisions were parceled out among companies in the Texian army. The Texians also gained control of several cannons. Over the next several days, more and more Texian settlers joined the group at La Bahia. Many of them were from Refugio, a sprawling settlement that was furthest from Matagorda. Historian Hobart Hewson speculates that these men were the last to receive word of the planned attack. Austin ordered that 100 men remain at Goliad under the command of Dimmitt, while the rest should join the Texian army in marching on Cossa's troops in Béjar. Collinsworth returned to Matagorda to recruit additional soldiers, but on October 14th, the remaining Texians at Goliad began to march towards Béjar. The loss of Goliad meant that Cos lost his means of communicating with Copano Bay, the closest port to Béjar. The Mexican troops garrisoned at Béjar would now need to get supplies and reinforcements overland.
You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro. Don't waste your time no more. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do? I don't give a damn if you say you disapprove. I'm gonna make my move, I'm gonna make it soon. And I'll do it cause it's what I wanna fucking do. Cause all these opinions and all these positions, they come in millions, they blocking your vision. But no, you can't listen, that shit is all fiction. Cause you hold the power as long as you're dreaming.
There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Are you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Are you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back? Fight back. You ain't gonna make it, you ain't never ever gonna break it. You can never beat them and they're better than you face it. Thinking that they give a damn, you're not thinking straight, kid. No, they don't give a damn, you got what I'm saying? I'm not fucking playing, I'll give it to you straight, man. There's too many others and you're not that great, man. Stop what you're saying, stop what you're making. Everybody here knows that you just faking. Nah, I don't wanna hear it anymore, I don't wanna hear it anymore. All these fucking thoughts, they are not what I need anymore. I'm about to shut the motherfucking door on all you poor ass haters with your heads in the clouds, talking out loud so proud. You better shut your goddamn mouth before I do more speak out. It's about to head south. You're never gonna make it. There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Are you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Are you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back.